the Mexicans may be looking at us and saying, wow, you want us to clamp down on the violent acts of these gangs, but what are you doing to stop the flow of guns into their hands? You're not doing enough. So guns in Mexico are essentially American guns. Imagine a river flowing south from the United States full of guns and weapons. That's what's happening in Mexico every day. More than 70% of the guns used in homicides in Mexico are American-made, and they can't stop them from coming in. And we're unfortunately not helping. And in fact, the Trump administration is loosening export controls on American-made guns, and Mexicans are getting them and getting their hands on them despite very tough domestic gun laws. So the United States, we have to look at ourselves and look in the mirror at whether or not we too are provoking the violence. And one of the best ways to ensure that we're actually tamping down on that is to tamp down on our gun exports. And unfortunately, we're not looking at it in that direction. And so for Mexicans and the Mexican military, they are facing highly armed drug gangs who have in their possessions with American weapons. One has to understand that it's not as if Mexicans like the violence, and it's not as if the drug cartels are there because the Mexican people support it. Throughout Latin America, drugs have been a scourge. They've killed tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people over the past several decades. And what the people of Latin America need is partnership. And what they need is the United States to engage them in productive activities, in partnership on the security side, as well as on economic development, on having markets that flow in two directions, on providing development aid and working with them to give opportunity in the countryside for people in Central America, for example, to feel comfortable that they have a future in their country and that they won't want to surge north and cross the border looking for better economic opportunity. All of these issues are linked, and building a wall to somehow stem the flow of migrants north or stop the violence is absolutely the last thing that we should be doing. That money should be put towards helping raise the level of living in these countries and to work in partnership with these governments to clamp down on the most violent parts of their societies. And then we add to that better laws here in the United States to prevent the export of our guns into Mexico and into these societies to reduce the violence there. That's a holistic strategy that has long had bipartisan support in Washington and across the country, and we need to make sure that we're sticking to those fundamentals if we're going to address these issues. So Americans living overseas are living like anyone in those countries, and so on the basic level, one takes the risks that any person, any citizen of that country takes in their daily life. But they do have additional protections from the American embassy if need be, in terms of ensuring that the embassy knows that they're there, and the embassy will advocate for them if they have legal issues. The worst case scenario, oftentimes when Americans travel overseas, if there's a fatality, the American embassy will come and protect them and visit the family and ensure that the deceased body is taken care of. So there is that infrastructure, but on a daily basis, Americans live and breathe just like any other national in the country where they're living. We recognize in the Bush administration, and I was a civil servant in the Bush administration, we recognized that Mexico could not confront its drug cartels effectively on its own. It was too weak of a government at the central government level, and that the police in these states were corrupt and many times in league with the actual drug traffickers. So we, on a bipartisan basis, engaged with Mexico on a comprehensive policy to not just combat drug traffickers by providing military hardware and training for their national forces, but also working to strengthen law enforcement activities at the state level, strengthen the courts, strengthen the local police. And in addition to that, to engage in economic development activities and try to sort of dry up the support in the countryside for drug traffickers by providing alternative economic activities. So it's a very comprehensive policy. It's been going on for well over a decade. It's in the billions of dollars, but it has saved lives. It has moved Mexico in the right direction, but there is a significant amount of work to do. There is one other example, though, where this has been done as well in Latin America, in Plan Colombia, a very similar initiative started in the late 90s on a bipartisan basis that really delivered a new Colombia and got it out of the drug wars and into a more democratic path, and now Colombia is a very strong American ally.